The moment my mother's hand slipped out of mine, I felt something inside me break in a way I still can't explain. Her lips trembled one last time, and she whispered words that didn't make sense then, but destroyed my entire life later. Ask your father about the summer of 1989. And then she was gone. But the worst part wasn't her death. It was the way she looked at me right before it. Like she was handing me a burden, not a goodbye. Like she was afraid of what would happen if I ever found the truth. But before we start today's story, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. My name is Ethan Carter, and I'm 32 years old. And I still don't know whether my mother was trying to give me closure or warning me about a truth that should have stayed buried forever. The funeral felt unreal. People came and went. Some cried, some stayed silent, but I couldn't hear any of them properly, because one sentence kept repeating in my head like a broken tape. Summer of 1989, my father stood near the corner the entire time, silent, controlled, almost too controlled. Not once did he look at me when people mentioned my mother. Not once did he break, and that scared me more than grief ever could. That night, when the house finally emptied, I walked up to him. "Dad," I said slowly, "what happened in 1989? The change in him was instant. His shoulders tightened, his jaw clenched, and then something I had never seen before. Fear, real fear. "Don't bring that up," he said sharply. "Your mother wasn't thinking clearly at the end." But his voice cracked right in the middle, and I caught it. That tiny crack was enough, because I realized something horrifying. He wasn't confused. He was protecting something, and maybe protecting himself. That night I couldn't sleep. Every memory I had of my childhood started reshaping itself, like someone was slowly editing my past. I remembered how my mother used to freeze whenever old albums were opened, how my father would suddenly change the topic whenever years before my birth came up, and how 1989 was never spoken in our house, not once. By morning I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until my father left for work. Then I went into his study. The room smelled like old paper and silence. Everything in it felt controlled, like nothing was ever meant to be disturbed. At first I didn't know what I was looking for. Just something, anything. Then I found it. Behind a stack of legal files, a small wooden box, locked, but old, too old to still be important. My hands shook as I forced it open. Inside was a single photograph. And the moment I saw it, my entire body went cold. My father was in it, much younger, standing next to a woman I had never seen before. She looked tired, but strong. And she was holding a baby wrapped in a white cloth. My breath stopped, because I realized something impossible. That baby had my exact birthmark. Same shape, same position. Same impossible detail that no one else in my family had. On the back of the photo, written in faded ink, were only 4 words. Summer of 1989. My hand started shaking so badly I almost dropped it. This wasn't a memory. It wasn't a mistake. It was proof. Proof that something had been hidden from me my entire life. Suddenly, the front door opened. Early, too early. My heart dropped instantly. Footsteps entered the house, slow, deliberate, like whoever it was already knew what I had done. I quickly shoved the photo into my pocket and stepped back. The study door creaked open. My father stood there, but he wasn't alone. Behind him was a woman I had never seen before. She looked at me like she had been waiting years for this moment. Not surprised, not confused, just ready. My father spoke quietly. "Ethan, we need to talk." But the woman interrupted him immediately. "No," she said softly. "He deserves the truth." My throat went dry. "What truth?" I asked. Silence filled the room. My father closed his eyes for a moment, like something inside him had finally collapsed. Then he said the words I never expected. "You were never told everything about your birth." My stomach dropped. "That's not possible," I whispered. The woman stepped forward slowly, and when she spoke again, her voice broke completely. "Because I am your biological mother." The world didn't just stop. It disappeared. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just stared at her, waiting for my mind to correct itself. But it didn't. She had tears in her eyes. "I didn't abandon you," she said. "I was taken away from you." My father turned away like he couldn't face me anymore. And suddenly, everything I knew about my childhood felt fake. Not incomplete. Fake. My father walked to a locked drawer and pulled out an old envelope. It looked like it had been sealed for decades. He placed it in my hands. "This," he said quietly, "is what your mother died trying to protect you from." My fingers trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter written in my mother's handwriting. But before I could read a single line, the lights in the house flickered. Once, twice, then went completely dark. A loud crash echoed from downstairs. Something heavy had fallen, then silence. And after that, footsteps, fast, heavy, come up the stairs. My father grabbed my arm tightly and whispered in a voice I'd never heard before. "They found us." The staircase creaked again. "Closer now." And then, study door handles slowly began to turn. Staircase creaked again, slower this time, like whoever was coming up already knew exactly where I was standing. My father's grip tightened around my arm, and for the first time in my life, I felt him shaking. Not angry, not in control, terrified. "They shouldn't have found us," he whispered again, like it was the only thought left in his mind. The woman in the room stepped closer to me, her eyes locked on the door. "Ethan, whatever happens, don't open that letter until I tell you," she said. But it was too late, because the handle turned, slowly, deliberately, and the door opened. But there was no one there, just darkness, and the sound of something dragging across the floor downstairs. A heavy silence followed, so deep it felt like the house itself was holding its breath. Then suddenly, my father slammed the door shut and locked it. "Listen to me," he said quickly, turning to me now. "No matter what you hear, do not go downstairs." "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. He looked at me, and for the first time, he didn't try to lie. "Because the truth about 1989 is still alive." My chest went cold. The woman stepped forward. "It started with the disappearance," she said softly, "but it didn't end there." And then she looked at me like she was about to pull me into a story I would never escape. "Your birth wasn't normal, Ethan." My hands clenched. "Stop talking in riddles," I shouted. "Just tell me what happened." My father closed his eyes, and then finally, he began. "Summer of 1989. I was working at a research facility outside the city," he said slowly. "Your biological mother was part of the same project." The woman nodded. "It was supposed to be medical research," she added. "Something experimental, nothing illegal at first." My stomach tightened. "But it changed," my father continued. "Money came in. Private investors, powerful people." And then he swallowed hard. "They stopped seeing patients as people." My breath caught. "They started seeing them as results." The house creaked again downstairs. Something moved, closer. My father ignored it. "And you?" I asked, my voice barely stable. He looked at me directly now. "You were born inside that facility." The world tilted. "That's impossible." "No," the woman said quickly. "You weren't supposed to survive." Silence dropped like a stone. My heart pounded violently. "What does that mean?" I whispered. My father's voice broke. "There were complications. Something went wrong during the procedure. They wanted to terminate everything, including you." My hands started shaking. "But she saved you," he said, pointing at the woman. "My biological mother," he added. She nodded slowly. "I took you out of there," she said. "I hid you. I gave you to the only person I trusted." She looked at my father, and he raised you as his own. My throat went dry. "So my whole life," I whispered, "was a lie?" "No," my father said immediately. "Your life was protection." A loud bang echoed from downstairs. This time, all three of us froze. Something heavy hit the wall. Then footsteps, faster now, running, coming straight toward the stairs. The woman grabbed my hand. "Ethan, they didn't stop looking for what happened in 1989. My mind raced. "Who is they?" She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. "People who built the project," she finally said. "And people who still benefit from it." Another bang. Closer. The door on the lower floor slammed open. My father rushed to the desk and grabbed the envelope again. "This letter," he said, pressing it into my hand, "contains everything. Names, truth, evidence. But if they get it first." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. A loud crash shook the stairs. Something was climbing fast now. No more hiding. No more waiting. My father turned to me. "Ethan, whatever you choose, you need to run." "Run?" I repeated. "Where?" The woman stepped closer. "There's a back exit," she said quickly. "But you have to decide now." The footsteps reached the top of the stairs, right outside the door. A shadow appeared under the crack, and then a voice from the other side spoke. Calm, cold, familiar. "Ethan Carter." My blood turned to ice. That voice, I knew it. I had heard it before. "At my mother's funeral," the voice continued. "You've been given something that doesn't belong to you." My father stepped in front of me instantly. "Don't open that door," he warned. The handle began to turn again, slowly, pressure building. The lock started to give. The woman grabbed my arm. "Ethan, now." But I couldn't move, because something in my head was breaking apart. That voice, it wasn't a stranger. It belonged to someone who should have been dead. The lock snapped. The door burst open, and I saw him. And in that moment, everything I believed about my mother, my father, and myself collapsed completely. But the truth wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Because the man standing in the doorway looked at me and said something I will never forget. "Welcome back, Ethan." And then he smiled, like he had been waiting for me my entire life. If this story kept you hooked until the end, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another powerful story. And remember, sometimes the truth isn't what we expect. It's what we choose to believe before we have all the facts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next story.